Hey there, welcome to BestElectricBikes.com. Today we're taking a look at the Specialized Turbo Levo. You got a couple different models in the Turbo Levo lineup. Your entry-level Turbo Levo, and then it jumps to the Comp model, which is what we have here today. Goes to Expert, the S-Works version, and the new Super Light Levo, which is really cool. This is a Class 1 e-bike, so it has pedal assist up to 20 miles an hour, and it augments rider power by 4 times, which is really handy when you're outdoors climbing steep terrain and handling those hills. This is a great all-around mountain bike. It's good for everybody from novices to advanced riders. So let's take a look at some of the specs. Let's take a look at the frame on the Specialized Levo. So this is patterned after the stump jumper frame, and they've incorporated their 29 trail geometry, which does a few things that really makes the bike handle well and feel stable while you're riding. They lowered the wheelbase, extended the reach, dropped the head tube, and all the weight of the motor is low and center, which really makes you feel like you're in control when you're riding that bike. That weight isn't throwing you around. This is an M5 premium aluminum alloy frame, so the frame itself is pretty light, and they've integrated the battery into the down tube right here, which Specialized does on most of its bikes, which really keeps the design nice and clean. You don't have an obtrusive battery sticking here. It's not a different color down here. It just kind of streamlines the design and makes that frame look really chic and sharp. Suspension on the Turbo Levo includes a full suspension front fork. So this is a RockShox Lyric front fork with 150 millimeters of travel in the front. It is both adjustable and lockable, which is really nice. You also have your sidearm suspension right here. This is another RockShox. This is your deluxe suspension, and it also has 150 millimeters of travel. And then to add to that, you also have your dropper post, which is super handy. You've got your lever up here so you can adjust that seat post as you're riding. The Turbo Levo has a really powerful Bros motor. This is their Bros S-Mag motor, so it's magnesium, it's lightweight, comes in about 6.5 pounds. One thing that we were really impressed with riding today is this motor is really quiet. You do not hear it. If you're in the highest level of assist and you've got your gears all the way down, you can maybe hear a little bit of a whirring sound, but it does not draw attention to itself. So the motor is really powerful and quiet. I love how it's low and just centered right there, mid-drive. And the motor has been trail tuned. So that means that it is calibrated for outdoor riding. And one thing that's really cool is your remote will sync with your mission control app on your phone. You can actually go in and adjust those levels just a little bit if you want to, which gives you a little more control depending on where you're riding and how you want to set those assist levels. So the motor has a nominal 250 watts, and I think it peaks at like 500. So you've got a really good range of power output from that motor. The battery, as I mentioned, is tucked in that down tube right here, so it's safe and kind of streamlined and integrated. You do have the rock guard down underneath, and there's a venting system also to kind of make sure that the motor and the battery don't get too hot. The 2020 model has upgraded the battery to 700 watt-hour battery. That's really impressive. The 2019 model was 500 watt-hours, which is also really impressive, but that's a 40% upgrade, and it didn't really affect the price of the bike. So that's really something to look at with the Turbo Levo, is the combination between your battery and motor power. You'll get between 30 and 80 miles of range, depending on your assist and your weight and terrain. So lots of great power on the Turbo Levo. The Levo is an 11-speed. So you have an 11 to 42 tooth sprocket here in the back with a 32 tooth chainring in the front. And these are SRAM 700 shifters right up here. They're just single click shifters, so you just go up and down one at a time. That is one thing when you're riding, you've got to make sure that you are ready to tackle whatever comes ahead, because you can't drop multiple gears at a time. It's really hard on the drivetrain. So they are single click shifters, which is one thing to be aware of, but they're right here on the right handlebar, super easy to reach, well within just thumb reach. The Turbo Levo has SRAM Guide RE 4-piston hydraulic disc brakes. And these are very necessary on an e-bike because you do get to speed quickly and easily. And this bike weighs about 50 pounds. You need brakes that are responsive and can slow that weight and power of the bike. So you'll notice here, these are 200 millimeter rotors here at the front and the rear. Sometimes you'll see, 20 millimeters larger at the front and then a little bit smaller at the rear, but you've got 200 millimeters both front and rear, which gives you nice surface area for some really strong braking power when you're out there on those trails. All right, so when you power up your bike, there's a power control button right here. And as soon as you power it up, you have 3 levels of assist. You've got Eco, Trail, and Turbo. It will automatically start in trail mode, which is kind of your mid-level. And these assist modes can be modified a little bit in the specialized mission control app. So you've got the option of adjusting your assist right here on the top of the top tube. And then over here on the left handlebar, you'll notice there's also an up-down button, and that will also move your assist up or down. So that makes it really easy while you're riding to just kind of navigate that assist if you need just a little more power or to drop just a little. The Mission Control app has a lot of customizable features, so you can go in and kind of adjust your levels how you want them. There's also another app called the Levo app, and that has even more advanced customization options. One thing that you can do is if you want to stay in a targeted heart rate zone, so let's say you want to keep your heart rate right around 160, it will adjust the assist for you as you're riding. If you've got a chest strap on that will sync with the bike, it will adjust your assist for you so that you stay in that target heart rate zone. You can do it with cadence if you want to keep that cadence between 85, 95 RPM. It will adjust with the assist so that you kind of can maintain that cadence. So the Levo app is really pretty cool too. Lots of customizable features in there. So the Levo Comp has 29-inch wheels, which really gives you a lot of power when you're headed up that trail. You roll really easily over great big boulders and stuff. It's kind of amazing what you can get over with these larger wheels. But they have different tires on the front and the back. So you'll notice here on the front, you've got a Butcher grid tire with that really hardy trail tread, but this tire on the front is 2.6 inches wide. And they do that because you need just a little more width there in the front for both stability and just to grab that trail as you're climbing. On the back, you've got an Eliminator Black Diamond tire, and this is only 2.3 inches wide, so a little narrower. And what that does is as you're trail riding, it gives you a little more navigability in the back end. So the bike's a little more nimble, makes the handling easier, especially if you go into a tight turn. That slightly narrower width on that rear tire really makes a difference. You've got Swiss Industry spokes here on the inside, which really help maintain structural integrity of that wheel so that when you hit things, you're not going to throw your wheel out of true. And then these are Presta valves, so you can support higher PSI with that Presta valve, and both wheels or both tires are tubeless ready. So you've got that option if you want. The front axles, so right here, your front axle, you've got a through axle, and it is 15 millimeters wide, which really gives you some stability and support there at the front. And here at the back, you've got a through axle that's 12 millimeters wide. So really nice structural support there in the wheels and tires. Right here, your Praxis crank arms are 165 millimeters long. So they're about 5 millimeters shorter than standard, which is typically about 170 millimeters. But what that does is it pulls your pedal up to reduce the chance of rock strikes and things like that. And because you already have motor support, you don't lose any power in that slightly shortened crank arm. So let's review our experience from the day and just kind of take a look at the handling of the Turbo Levo and how it felt. So in general, the handling was really impressive. This is an easy bike to ride. It's playful and nimble. Those 29-inch wheels really get you up that trail. It just kind of grips and takes you along with it. It doesn't feel weighted on the back end. One thing you do have to be aware of is because the bike weighs 50 pounds, if you are trying to bunny hop it up rocks, you can feel that weight. It's harder to do. And also when you jump down, you can feel that bike kind of, the weight comes down with you. The single shifter is an issue, so if you're riding a trail you're not super familiar with, sometimes that can be hard to know exactly what's coming and how you're going to need to shift to accommodate the trail. So that is one thing we did notice, but we were surprised, quite frankly, that on a 50-pound bike, we were able to navigate, take turns, sharp corners, things like that really pretty well. I will say the turn radius is affected just a bit. Turning tight is a little bit tricky. So usually I would have to slow my bike in order to really be able to get around a tight corner. So that's something to be aware of. I loved how quiet the motor was. I was riding up and came up against another gentleman, and we were kind of talking for a minute, and he didn't even know I was on an e-bike because it wasn't obvious. The geometry of the bike and the frame design is such that it doesn't scream e-bike at you, and the motor doesn't make like hardly any noise. So it was really nice. We just rode for a minute, and then I said, hey, I'm on an e-bike, and just kind of moved ahead. But it's one of those things where it doesn't stand out. So you fit right in riding with a group of friends. And the 29 trail geometry that they've done to kind of tighten up that suspension, lower the wheelbase, extend the reach, drop those handlebars just a touch, it made a big difference for me. For riders my size, and maybe new riders, people that aren't quite as confident on a mountain bike, that geometry makes a big difference. You feel like you're in control of the bike as you're riding it. So in general, we give two thumbs up to the Turbo Levo for overall handling, nimbleness, being playful on the trails, things like that. It's a fun bike to ride. So the Turbo Levo really is an exceptional all-around mountain bike. It's really good for pretty much any kind of trail riding. Certainly there's bikes out there that have been customized with more slack on that front fork so that you can do those long downhills, maybe more enduro rides. But if you're just going out and tackling the trails with some friends, it's hard to go wrong with the Turbo Levo. It's just an exceptional bike for all-around riding. The tires are grippy, the drivetrain is powerful, it's easy to navigate your levels of assist. The motor is quiet. So lots of really great features on this eMountain bike. It's a really good option if you're like a serious biker and you have a loved one that you're trying to get into it. The Turbo Levo would be a great bike to buy for somebody that wants to come with and maybe could use just a little bit more power. And because of the integrated frame design and the geometry, you blend right in. It's not like you're the one weird friend on the e-bike. So we really like that. The Turbo Levo, there's specialized dealers everywhere. So that's another great thing, is no matter where you go or where you ride, it's really easy to service and maintain your bike. Specialized is a higher end brand, so sometimes you do pay more out of pocket for that name brand, but it does come with some pretty exceptional service and just retailers and shop owners everywhere. So we're really impressed with the Turbo Levo. For a detailed written review, check out our link below and visit us at bestelectricbikes.com. If you liked our review today, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more e-bike reviews.